break it apart for me. Neosho do X, smallmouth do this typically based on the research.
So a Neosho bass we found out is like very short-lived for one. So if you think of like a smallmouth bass from parts of its native range in like, the upper Midwest, they can live up to 20 years old in like those colder climates. We rarely see a Neosho bass hit 6 years old down here.
Significantly shorter.
Significantly shorter. The oldest one we've ever aged was 8 years old. But in our entire statewide, or Ozark data set, if you will, like about 1% of them hit that 6-year-old mark. And in that same respect, about 1% of them hit the 14-inch mark. So that, like the growth model that he's talking about, we also did one just for all our Neosho Bass data we're collecting in Oklahoma. And then we were also working on, getting data from the other states that have these populations, combining it together, and we ran that analysis as well. And that's something we hope continues to get built upon, including more streams to make that data even more representative. But for where it stands right now, you look at that growth curve, and it basically tells you that your average maximum length for a Neosho bass is about 13 inches. It's not saying they can only get to 13 inches, but your average fish is going to kind of top out at 13. The longest fish we had in a data set where we had genetically confirmed Neosho bass was about 16 3/4 inches.
Okay.
And so you could kind of think of that as your current like world record right now.
Yeah,
it's like just under 17 inches.
So there's not even one on the books, so it would be.
Yes,
Be the one.
Right.
So that's like, you hear a lot about, smallmouth bass, if you catch one that's a decent size, it took a long time to get there, which is why you should let it go.
Right.
And for Neoshos, they're just such a short-lived species. The ones that, yes, it's true, the ones that are 14 are probably anywhere between 6 to 8 years old. So that is kind of an old fish, but it's very much at the end of its life. It's not like it's got 10 more years of growth potential. On the other side, we had the Illinois River smallmouth bass, where when we had that national average, that national average tells us that it takes about 15 years for a smallmouth bass to hit trophy size, which is 20 inches.
Okay.
Illinois River bass get there in about 7 to 8.
Really?
So it's about like almost twice as fast. And of the fish that we aged that were that 20-inch size and above, we had ages as young as 5 up to 11. So we had 5-year-old fish already hitting a 20-inch mark, which is it's remarkable growth.
This is pure strain smallmouth.
These were fish that came back, genetically confirmed. These are your smallmouth bass.
Wow.
Yes.
Like Cropter's Dolomew.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When you break it down by specific ages, like if you look at age 1 Neosho bass compared to the national average compared to age 1 smallmouth bass in the Illinois River, Neosho bass comes out hot. Like age 1 is about in the 60th percentile, so they're still above national average. And then by the time you get to, I think it's like age 8, they're already like 37th percentile in growth. And by the time you get to like even farther out, basically at the end of their life, they're like 0th percentile. Whereas an age 1 smallmouth bass, an age 3 smallmouth bass, and an age 8 smallmouth bass out of this river are in the 99th percentile when it comes to national comparisons.
Gotcha.
So it's crazy difference.
Said in layman's terms, in plain and simple, Neosho, they don't live as long. They also don't get as big as a Micropterus Dolomew, the smallmouth. But you were mentioning earlier, they actually grow a little bit faster than the smallmouth. You see the age 1 Neoshos outpace the smallmouth. But then besides all of that, on the Illinois, they both just grow really fast. Is that what I'm hearing you guys say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relative to the rest of the country.
This watershed in general supports higher than average Neosho bass growth.
Okay.
But when you're going to take a Neosho bass in this river and compare it to a smallmouth bass, it gets blown out of the water by the smallmouth.
Okay.
But yes, this watershed generally supports faster than average growth for a Neosho bass compared to the other Ozark streams that we've studied, you know, in like the Grand River watershed. And then this year, I think they're going to collect some data more in the Boston Mountains. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes out, like Lee Creek, Little Lee Creek, how that compares.
Right.
But yeah, so it's a short-lived species that grows slow. They, live fast, die young.
Yeah.
But the smallmouth, like I said, our oldest was 11, but I wouldn't be surprised, if they ended up getting one a little bit older than that, like in that 12 to 15 year range. But, they're probably never going to find like a 20-year-old smallmouth bass out of the Illinois River just because of the latitude.
Gotcha.
So like in warmer climates, it generally helps growth, but that means it's not going to live as long.
I see.
So like, higher metabolism and all that doesn't generally contribute to a longer lifespan.
Yeah.
but they're reaching the size, everybody likes to go up north to catch big smallmouth, and it might take that smallmouth 15, 20 years to get there. Well, here it's like 7 years, and boom, they're there.
Gotcha.